Let me start by saying that I love and appreciate you and your words.
That's clear to us.
I work as a firefighter paramedic, and your teachings have helped me to clarify some of the tragedies that I've seen. And one thing that I just can't wrap my head around is suicide. I know that transition is a wonderful thing for the soul, but when I see suicides in teenagers specifically, it's hard for me to connect what's going on with that person's body and mind versus their soul.
That's a big subject, and we want to address it fully here because it is such a big subject. And it falls nicely on the heels of what we just talked about. Because when your life causes you to really know what you don't want, which causes you to launch powerful rockets of what you do want, and there's a big vibrational variance chronically between how you're feeling a lot of the time and who you really are, that's pressure that is painful. There is not anything worse than to be physically focused in your human form and to be depriving yourself of the expansion that this life has helped you to carve out. And so sometimes because of the circumstances that are surrounding people, and by that we mean most humans, doesn't have to be this way, but it is this way for most humans offer most of their vibration and therefore practice themselves into a grid based upon what they are observing, what's going on around them. So in some situations, you're observing such that's causing huge expansion, but the very observation of the very stuff that caused you to expand is also keeping you from finding an easy way to that expansion. So the crevasse between who you really are, who you've evolved to, and who you're allowing yourself to be is great and therefore painful. So we're talking about all of these ways of going general in order to allow yourself to let the things that you've put into your vortex flow in. And for sometimes the death experience is that path of least resistance. It would be wonderful, we agree with you, if you could have, or if we could have a meaningful enough conversation with someone who was in that sort of tortured place that we could give them enough attention and enough reason to feel who they really are, that their resistance would soften and they could get themselves into the vicinity where things could begin to flow in. And lots of people like that come to you and to us. In other words, they've been there in despair, but they got close enough to the vicinity that the grid began filling in, and somebody handed them something from someone somewhere on the planet that gave them a piece of information that was the next logical thing for them, you see. You really have to get over that death thing, though. And in fairness to everyone, we want to say to you, every death, no exception, is suicide, because you create your own reality. So you said something at the end of your presentation to us just now about body. What is that piece of it?
I was just trying to make the connection. I was wondering what part the soul played in the suicide action.
A big part, because the soul is always calling you, calling you, calling you, calling you, calling you, calling you, calling you. This is what we're talking about. If you've established, you help us take this into a place that it has not been before. If your life and the way you've been focused has you creating grids that are really out of sync with this core grid of who you really are, and your life causes you to keep adding to that core grid, adding to that vortex, adding to it, eventually the pull of source will be such that it will pull you right into alignment with who you really are. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful?
Yes.
You intended to come here, create a grid so that your grids sync up, so that you could allow all that you are to be present now. But really, isn't it splitting hairs about whether you allow us here or whether you reemerge there? It's alignment in either case. It's eternal in either case. It's inevitable in any case. You see.
That's perfect. Thank you.
On the aisle right here.